Hello. Hello. Working. Type in the chat if you're here so I know everything is working all good. Let me know. AB said, but that was about 10 minutes ago before I went live, saying yo. So let me know if you're still here, AB, and everybody else in the chat. Morning from Sean. Morning, bro. Thought we'd do an early one today. On a Saturday as well, which is something I don't really do. I don't really tend to do anything YouTube related at the weekends. Usually I'm either too busy working or got plans elsewhere, like whenever I'm not working. So sort of fell into my lap this weekend that I've not got any work today. I mean, I'll be watching England later at 5. But I haven't got any work today and haven't got any plans. So I thought let's just have a little morning catch up, talk about some Chelsea things that we was going to speak about yesterday. Elias saying yo, or Elias. Football Universe saying all good. Big up Luke Mudway. William saying hi Connor, what's up? Big up bro from Reno FC. Everybody in here, we've got 17 at the minute, but hopefully we can run that up. If we can all like the video, obviously the more likes, we can run it up, get as many people in here as possible. The higher that like count is, the better for me, the better for you guys. Everything's going to be nice and good. Just want profiles that maximise the manager's system, no point forcing players that don't fit, like Felix. We're going to speak about that, Monty, because we're going to speak about the left wing position mainly, which is what I want to speak about. One thing I will just quickly say, because I've got the lap on screen here, because nothing else has happened yet. XTK video went out yesterday. It's doing quite well at the minute. So if you're one person that hasn't seen that yet, or hasn't dropped a like or a comment to help sort of push that video, I would really, really appreciate after the stream if you could go watch the video, let me know what you think, leave a like, because Scout for Oz, it's something I'm going to be trying to do a bit more of in the summer to try and appeal to a bit of a wider audience when it comes to transfers. I feel like that's quite a good time to sort of to lock in and get quite a few of those videos out. I enjoyed making it, and again, like I do all this scouting anyway for work, so it kind of feels like turning those scout reports that I build into a video feels kind of second nature. It feels like the right thing to do, just in terms of efficiency, if anything. So yeah, excited for today's topic. Let's go, Afik. Hi, Jason Grove. Also, just remember, any questions, more than happy, just leave them in the comments. We'll try and get to them. I try to get through every single comment. 25 people in here now, but only 10 likes. Can we at least run that up to at least 20 really quickly? And then, like I say, the more likes we get, hopefully we'll drive a lot more people into the stream, grow the community, and the more this community grows, the more things I can do for you guys, because I can attribute more of my time towards it, essentially. So let's talk about it. Let's have a little chat about this position. So like I said, we've got a few different things on here. Don't worry too much about everybody else in each position, but you can see down this right-hand side here, we've got a few options. And like Monty said, big up Connor in the chat, can Kudus be a touchline winger? We're going to speak about that. So like Monty said, do we want to force players in a bit like Felix and a bit like Nkunku? Now, one thing that sort of gets to me a bit, not too much, because is what it is, I understand it. When it comes to Nkunku and Felix, the difference with them playing wide is that when they are pinned out wide, Felix is better at it, in my opinion, than Nkunku. And I do actually think Felix could have worked in the role, but for whatever reason, I just don't think Maresca took a liking to him. But it's all about having that pace and power on the outside. I don't think Nkunku has that same pace and power on the outside to beat his man and go on the outside of a player, of a fullback. And I think that's where he struggles being pinned wide, because he's much easier to show inside because of that lack of ability to take it on the outside. Now, the difference is with a Rodgers, for example, is he does have the pace and power on the outside, in my opinion. He can shift the ball, get on the outside of players, and then that means that they can't show him inside purely. They might favour him going inside, but once he then starts taking it down the line, it opens up the defender's body shape, and there's going to be points where the defender doesn't know which way to go, and it's going to allow Rodgers to take up that inside spot. Now, does that mean he doesn't need an overlap? No, he does need support. So whether that's Enzo, who's going to have to be a little bit more active with underlapping and even sort of like those stretched runs that we spoke about last season. That is a terrible arrow. We spoke about how like the sort of system needs a few sort of, as time goes on, the eights and the wingers build a connection, because Dewsbury Hall and Mavididi was one I used a lot last season, and the runs from the eight, not only the underlapping runs, which we have seen a lot of, but also these ones that we haven't seen as many of, is quite a key factor. But also Kukurea, who we've seen this season, there's points where if we push into this sort of almost like this with a 3-rest defence, Kukurea, if using his, because again, he's got a very good IQ, Kukurea, football IQ. So if he can time those runs perfectly, Enzo makes a move away to open up the space, then that can still happen where Rodgers gets in that pocket. So in terms of signing that sort of profile, that is how I want to see it. I think with Kukurea, I think you can afford, especially next season, to add more coaching details in terms of when he can go, when he can't go, how you can help Rodgers. And I think that's something next season where a lot of people were sort of talking about the rigidity this season of Maresca's system. It's next season that you might start to see a few more additions in patterns to allow a little bit more fluidity in certain zones, which is something that I do think he wants to implement. So that's where someone like a Rodgers and especially a Kudus, in terms of what he can do athletically, really does work. My back point with Kudus is purely the fact that he's a left footer, because Madueke, Neto, Kudus, Esteval, you'd have 4 left-footed right wingers by trade. Now, yes, Neto has shown he can play on the right. Madueke towards the end of the season has shown he can play a bit on the left. Sorry. Kudus has been playing a lot on the left for West Ham because of Bowen, so they can do it, but it doesn't give you the other option. And I think this is where we just need to talk about, before we go back to Kudus and Rodgers and we speak about Eze and maybe Rodrigo a bit as well. I think this is where we need to speak about Gittens, who, again, I've got a big scout video coming out about very soon. I've been working on that one for a little while. Gittens is somebody that I've done so much work on him over the past. Before Chelsea were even remotely linked, I had multiple scout reports done. I had a few sort of written pieces for certain various outsourced people that I've done about Gittens. So somebody that I know I've watched quite extensively, and I really do like him. Price point matters, because I don't think he's going to be an instant. I don't think he'll come in and blow everybody away. That's something that I've said from the start. I don't think he's an instantaneous hit. But if you can get him at 30 to 35 million, and then you also bring in a different profile with him, I love that deal. I really, really do. So I think Gittens is even more important because of the right footer. And I think you at least need one. So to have him, and it depends what you can do with Tyreek George if he's going to go out on loan, but you don't want Gittens and George as your choices. So again, you still need another one, which is, again, where it starts to get a little bit tricky, because you've got Quenda coming in. So it's all about squad building as well, which is why I think a right footer, because with Quenda coming in, you add another right-footed left winger. No, I keep saying it the wrong way around. Sorry. Left-footed right winger. Let's do a few questions, and then we'll go back to sort of speak about those left wing position, because Hello, do you think we return to an overlapping right back to create 3-2-5 to accommodate Xavi Simons, Rodgers, Kudus? So like I just said, I don't think it would be as dry cut as having like a winger always holding the width. But I definitely think it's something that will be implemented through patterns. I still think that the idea, and this is what I want, I would prefer that these two wingers stay high and wide in the first phase, and then in the second phase, when you push teams back, which is something that we're going to do naturally by trade with the way that we play, the pacing, the tempo that we play at. Once we then squeeze up and we get players in this half the pitch, that's when I want to see a little bit more creativity, especially because you're going to have the base of these three. Well, again, this could be anyone at this point, but you're going to have that sort of base. These two need to work hard, but they can also offer you a little bit of sort of fluidity within these triangles. If we change this to, say, a different color like this, what you kind of then want to see is almost something like that, right? Where there's a bit more fluidity in the triangles out wide once you push past that first phase. And that's when you can have, say, let's say this is at Rogers. That's when, in that example, Enzo might drop off to receive the ball. Rogers might come inside. Kukurea might go in there. Now, all of a sudden, you've technically got an overlapping fullback, but he's going to work hard if that ball breaks. You've got Rogers in the pocket, technically, which is what you want. And then you've got Enzo deeper on the ball as well. So that would be a really nice triangle to have. Now, the reason I say I want it in that sort of second phase and not in the first phase, I don't think Kukurea is good enough as a touchline, like as an overlapping fullback to hold the width at all times, because I think he gets stuck too easily against the touchline. I think what he often does is he'll sort of be facing up this way, can't really get on the outside of the player, and then he ends up coming back and recycling the ball very, very often. Sometimes he'll play a clever little pass into this pocket, but it's not as often as you would like. So in that sense, that's why I want him to sort of make that run a bit later. And also I just think he's very important in the rest defence as well. So it'd be something you have to time appropriately, which is all part of the coaching patterns, which is what I'm saying in a second season is so important. So that's sort of my take on that. On the right side, I do think you could do it a little bit better. Obviously, it depends on Esteval as well. But, like, with Palmer, I prefer him in the 10. But I've always said you can play him on the right if you have someone like, if Reece was fully fit and, like, he could sort of burst into that area and then he could play in the 10 as well. So, like, they could interchange between these two half space, the half space and the wing position. Then it's not that it wouldn't be viable at all. It wouldn't be my go-to choice, but it's not that it wouldn't be viable. Don't think Ekitike really suits for our needs. He'll have a good relationship with Palmer on the pitch, but we need a box striker, and Delap isn't really that yet. He works well outside the box. I've got a video on Delap. I think he's going to definitely be the box striker. I think the problem is, I think what a lot of people do with players like Delap, and this is what scouts obviously get paid. This is like part of the job, right? Is you have to project what they're going to do elsewhere. So I've tried to explain this to a few people that have asked me questions about it in the past, privately. But if you don't have the data on someone like Delap, because Ipswich put very few crosses into the box, and your all actions of his like winning headers and aerial duels and things like that, if it doesn't give you enough, the next port of call is then starting to use projections, right? So you'll look at his ability to win the ball when a ball comes forward from a goal kick. How does he win that aerial duel with a defender on his back? How does he win? How does he sort of receive the ball in the channels? How does he attack the ball, even when it's sort of like loitering around the box or even from corners if he's not going to get on the ball? What's his movement and what's his tenacity like to get on it? Delap, in that sense, has every quality needed to be a box striker. He's got the build, he's got the tenacity, he's willing to fight for the ball in every scenario. And when he makes contact, it's good. Like, it is fairly good. So I'm not worried about Delap developing into exactly what we want him to be in terms of a box threat. Because, as I've also said, I think such an important part of it is if you're an initiative player rather than an evasive player. So Delap, I would call an initiator of contact. He puts his shoulder into people on purpose. Whereas an Ekitike or a Jackson, they're a little bit more evasive. They want to use, they're a bit more wiry, and they want to sort of slip around the sides and arrive late at people. Delap's ability to just be a bit more of a rough and tumble type means that if he's being sort of like manhandling one player, the other player sort of has to cheat towards him, which then opens up much more space here for the left winger, Enzo, Kukurea, who have all been very good at box crashing this season, like these two especially. So that's another huge asset that even if Delap's not winning the ball, the fact that he is such a fighter is going to open up so much space for other people. So I do think that the idea of having Delap and Ekitike, who can offer you different qualities, I do think it's very, very strong. But like I say, the Delap video and Ekitike video, both out on the channel. The Delap one's a little bit further back. It's like 2 months ago, and the Ekitike one is the latest one on the channel. So if you haven't seen either of them, I'd recommend watching them. By the way, just going to say it because we've smashed up. We're on like 70 viewers now. Like, it's literally gone through the roof considering we had like 10 at the start. So can we, every single person in here, if we could just really quickly smash the like button, we're on 26. We've got 70 odd people. Can we hit that to at least 50 by the time I refresh in 30 seconds? All it takes, scroll to the bottom, leave a like, and then we can leave it for the rest of the stream once you've done your bit. So let's drop a like. Really, really does help out. I think people don't realize how much it does help in terms of spreading the algorithm. It helps the algorithm, doesn't it, at the end of the day? And like I said, the more that is you guys help me with it, the more I can produce for you guys because I have more time to work on it because it's going well. So yeah. Where are we? 42. Okay, I'm going to carry on, but let's get that up. 170. Let's carry on. And Nkunku struggled against City playing wide. He did. I think we need an overlapping Kukurea deputy to add variation. That would be ideal, wouldn't it? And I think Ishe Samuel-Smith has actually added that to his game this season, so that would be interesting. No, I don't think Quender's been brought in as an overlapper. I think he's going to be a touchline winger, 100%. Pardon me. Bit off topic, but what do you think about Santos as a left centre mid? I rate Enzo highly, but I'll always see him as that Cruz star DLP, D1 playmaker. So Madrid offer. So I wouldn't ship Enzo either way. I'll put that one out there. However, Santos left centre mid, I 100% see it. I think Santos can play either of these two positions with ease, and I think he'll get a lot of minutes in both. I think Santos will play a lot this season, so I'm not worried about that. But I wouldn't be flipping Enzo. I want to keep our midfield group together. I think it's really, really strong. And I think there's enough minutes to go round. I think with Lavia's injury issues, I think you can manage him a bit better with a little bit more depth in there. You want to rest Casado a little bit as well. I think it's going to actually help having that midfield depth quite a lot. You'd rather Kudus on the right, if anything. Yeah, of course, that is ideal. Kudus left 10, Gittens left wing. No, because then to do that, you're losing a midfielder. That would mean Kudus is starting as an 8, essentially. That would mean you're starting Kudus and Palmer as double 8s, and I don't like that, really. Kudus is, to be fair, though, I say I don't like that, really. Kudus isn't bad off the ball, so it wouldn't actually be the end of the world if you're going to continue to press in a 4-1-4-1, so against maybe more aggressive teams. But, yeah, I think if you're going to drop off into anything with a double pivot against certain teams who play 2 pocket players, then that becomes an issue. But he does work hard off the ball, he does. When you say not an instant hit, do you think he'd at least be a starter, get proper game time? He'd definitely get minutes. Yeah, he wouldn't be the starter, is what I mean. But I think he'd definitely get game time, and he'd start certain games. It's not. Yeah, it's a bit like Mudryk. Like Mudryk wasn't the starter, but he got good minutes at the end of the day, and I think he'd have got way more minutes this season if he hadn't have been banned. So yeah. What do you think is going to happen with Neto? I think he'll be fine this season. I think he'll stay around. I think he can offer quality on both wings, good crossing, which could help with the lap, and I think he could upscale a little bit this year. So I just think he's going to stay around this year. There's not much more to that one. Nico Williams to Chelsea, who says no. If that comes out, we will see. I probably should have put him on here to talk about, to be fair, because there was actually something about him yesterday. But yeah, maybe we'll talk about him when we talk about Rodrigo. We'll have a little chat about Rodrigo and Nico together. Shall I do this? Don't forget. See that? I have no update on Victor Ockers. By the way, guys, because when I'm streaming, so currently, what my streaming setup is the face cam is just through my sort of StreamYard on my phone. However, I've been setting things up. So I've got the microphone here, and I've got the webcam that has also just been set up as well. So streams and videos will now hopefully be 1, better quality, but 2, much easier for me, and I can actually use my phone to sort of check things and look on Twitter. But the point I was actually getting at is right now I've got no way of looking at Twitter unless I open it on my sort of computer browsers. But so if anything does come up Chelsea related, you need to spam me in the chat. You need to tell me that something's happened because I wouldn't know. So if XTK here we go happens, I need to know. Big time. Don't be real. Don't want Ekatike. I'm fine with Delap and Jackson. That's fair. think he's such a great fit for Maresca. Who, sorry, Super Monty, this is what happens when I'm so far behind in the chat. Who was this about? Was this Gittens or Rogers? Do you think Maresca wants, or Ekitike maybe actually? Do you think Maresca wants Ekitike to be an Alvarez for City? I don't. I think that's more of like a, say, João Pedro if he was signed. That's, again, it's not to say that he can't do it, and I've sort of spoke about this again. I actually think Kudus could be a similar sort of profile. It's just unfortunate he's not a right footer, because again with Marmoush it's similar. Like, they've brought in a player who's a bit of a sharpshooter, create their own angles and get shots off quickly, and a bit of a maverick. Alvarez was that last season. They replaced him with Marmoush this season eventually. But they're starting usually from the wing, and then they come inside and they sort of play as that player off that, like, in that position, but they offer that quality. So I think that could be something to do with why we're looking at someone like Kudus as well. For me, even if a lot of people don't rate him, Leao has the perfect profile for the system. He does have the perfect profile for the system, that's a fact. Especially in wide areas, with the way he crashes into the box and can shoot, right-footed physically. I agree with all of that. It's off-ball is the worry, like Monty's just said. And I think that's just something that you can't really equate for too much, because Palmer's actually a good presser, but he's not like a strong point in that sense. Enzo is kind of a weak link in that sense. Again, I think he's good moving side to side, like as a defender and being tenacious in those areas. But when he has to sort of cover big ground, he's not as good. So you have to cover up for that slightly in terms of recovery speed. I think if then you also add Leao on that side, the burden on Cucurella will be huge, huge. So yeah, that's sort of my thing with that. As we're linked to Hato, what would be the tactical differences between him and Cucurella, especially going forward? I just think Hato doesn't offer as much in terms of versatility to sort of make the runs into the box and like into the half space. Hato is very good progressively, so I think if he was in the back three, if he was sort of shaping up like this, get rid of all that, then he'd be really good in this spot to sort of like in terms of progression. Let me just move all this back because it's kind of annoying me. But yeah, we'll talk about Hato in more detail if that happens. Want to see Reece in the half space pocket, right half space pocket this season. That would be really fun. It would be really fun. It's just about, can he sort of deal with it? Leao would transform our attack. That's fair. Like I say, on the ball, I don't disagree on the ball. If you could make 3 realistic signings, who would be perfect for us and Maresca going into next season, who would it be? Am I taking Delap into account here? If no signings have been made already, then Osman would have been straight through the door for me. In terms of if I'm going to do something now, like, I'll give you 2 answers. It would have been not Rogers, sorry. That's just because I read that one straight below it. Osman. Defender. Who would I go for? Let's say Osman, Rogers, and Diamonde. Let's say that. And then if we can't, like, if we're taking Delap into account now, take away Osman and put in Ekitike. And it's pretty much the same answer. Kudus or Rogers? Rogers purely on the fact he's right-footed. It's pretty much the thing that holds me between the two. And yet wins so many fouls. Daniel Knight in here, big up. Not sure how anyone can be against Leao. He's made for the Prem. Like I say, I agree with all of that. I do agree with all of that. It is purely the out of possession reasons. Kudus left 8, Gittens left wing. We answered that one above. Enzo under Potter was his best football. Yeah, I do. I like him deep, and that's why I sort of said about that sort of triangle, if you can get it like this, where Enzo can drop into these pockets more often. That will be the box striker. Yeah, agree. Leao Rodrigo for left wing with Gittens understudy. Yeah, I wouldn't hate that. Like I say, maybe Rodrigo slightly just because of the Leao sort of issues off ball. Yeah. What is the update on Maignan? I haven't heard anything either. Oh yeah, you've just said that. Chelsea Tom saying good luck to you. Not sure what that was around. You might have to, if you're still here, you might have to let me know. Do you think Kudus left centre mid plus Rogers left wing? Physical left centre back profile instead of Cuckoo, maybe. Maybe you want Enzo as part of the defensive 5. I don't think you'd play Kudus and Rodgers together. No, can't see that. I think that's too much. I mean, they could interchange well. It's not like it couldn't ever work, but it wouldn't be for me. I don't think there's enough. It's just something missing there in terms of balance. Do you think Gyökeres would suit us if we don't get a TK? I like Gyökeres. I've said this before, but I just think that something isn't there for me in terms of wanting him at Chelsea. And I actually think if he comes to the Prem, he'll smash it. And if we hadn't signed the lap, it may have been different. Like, it just depends on who you're going to have with him. I think Gyökeres and Delap is better than Gyökeres and Jackson, because I think, again, Delap, in the way that he attacks stuff in the box and his physical, not even profile, because they're built similarly, but it's how they use that physical sort of nature is different. I think Ekitike has a higher ceiling, put it that way. But Gyökeres is he's more likely to come in and score 20 goals straight away. So I guess that's your choice. That's your choice. What do you think about 4-3-3, Santos, Enzo, Caicedo, midfield, Palmer from the right? That's the only issue. I don't hate the idea of the 4-3-3 and with getting Santos, Enzo, Caicedo, because we've done it with Lavia as well, and I do think it works at times. I think what you've done here is pretty much what I said earlier. Palmer from the right, Gusto, James overlapping. I think that's something I'd use, but it's not like every single game that I'd use it. That's something I'd use in situational games. So in terms of what do I think of it, I like it, but it would be situational for me. I would test the waters for Barcola as well, James, but I just don't think it's going to happen. But I love Barcola. Was like my dream left wing signing for so long. A lot of people probably remember that from last summer as well. We got to get big updates on my Nan because we've got 4 days left. Yeah, I think it's been really quiet, hasn't it? So I think we're going to see, and like Luke's just said, quieter is around the player, the better. I think we're going to get something big today. I really do, because it was really quiet yesterday. Really quiet. So it could be Ekitike, it could be Gittens, it could be Manyan. We haven't really heard anything about the three. Like, all we've really heard is like the mini updates from people like Alex, who's been saying things like, I think we've had Pletty goal at one point, like a few different things, but it's been smaller updates. Nothing from sort of like the big hitters like Fab or Ornstein. So I think we might get something big. Really do. You know, because of club politics, he probably won't play. But Keanu Dyer, I love Keanu Dyer, man. I hear it with Vitinha vibes. Someone I've compared him to who's a little bit more like closer now is like Angel Gomez. He reminds me of him so much in terms of like not even just the frame, but like the build as well, but the tenacity to use that and like sort of cover ground sort of quick with his steps. Really, yeah, like Vitinha, very silky in that first phase and can sort of play between all the lines and can just sort of move between any zone. I 100% agree with that. I really like Dyer. Kalius, I really appreciate that, my guy. Connor's reading all the comments, which I always will. Always will. I don't want to ever sort of like skip over anything. So yeah, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Everybody leave a like on the video. That would really, really help. Let's have a little look. What are we up to? 46. We've got 76 people in here. Can we get another 20 odd? Can we get like another 20 odd likes by the next time I refresh? I'm gonna remember 46. I want to come back. Let's knock it. Let's say 65. So 19. Let's say 65. I'll refresh in maybe 5 minutes. So everybody in here, drop a like, please. Feel like we should just focus on getting proper touchline wingers. I like Rodgers and Kudus, but Williams and Gittens are better tactical fits. They are better tactical fits. Like I said, I think no matter what, with if we're going to bring in, let's talk about Eze as well. Let's just do like, I think any of these three has to be accompanied by Gittens. So it is almost, for me, it's like this, like it's Gittens plus one of these, because that's just sort of, it gives you the profile, the exact profile for the system. And then it gives you more of a hybrid profile who can offer different like other things. Rodgers would be my choice for that. I've got a few stats actually that I was going to read, like sort of when I was talking about that. I'll do that now actually. So I was looking at a few things, because this role for me, Rogers Eze Kudus role, what I'd want from it is sort of similar to what Rafinha is at Barcelona and what Marmoush is at City. I want somebody who's a bit of an outlet runner, can receive the ball on the break. They've got the ability to sort of create something out of nothing. They create their own shot. They get shots off with efficiency, and they're just a bit of a maverick, right? That's sort of the what I want from this sort of position. So I was looking at a few of their like shooting splits and things like this. We've got a few bits here. So Kudus in his first season at Ajax, 0.5, or not, sorry, his last season at Ajax, 0.55 xG. He had 38.6% shot on target ratio, which is the highest out of anyone except Gittens, who has 40.3. So this is another reason why I really like Gittens, because when he gets his shots off, they're often fairly well struck. They're good, they're on target, the ball striking strong. That's not to say he doesn't sometimes force shots, but again, we're going to speak about this in more detail when we do a Gittens deep dive, because that is something he does do. He does force shots when maybe he should play a pass or look to do something a little bit different creatively. But when he does shoot, the efficiency is good. In comparison, Eberechi Eze's shot on target per game is 28.3, so it's quite low in comparison. But he does take much further distance shots. He has 21.6 yards as his average distance for shots, so a lot of outside the box sort of pops, which again is something that you do want to add to the team at some point. But you've already got it with Palmer to an extent. Do you need to risk it for the sake of efficiency? He also takes 3.25 shots per game, Eze, which is the most out of any of the players we're talking about here. Gittens, Kudus, Rogers, like he takes the most of any of them. So again, volume-wise. But again, you got to think he's the man at Palace, so that's something. He's got the physical profile, Eze, in terms of he can shrug players off, he can drive with the ball. In terms of being an outlet, he's maybe not as much as one as the others that I would like. Maybe Rogers and Kudus suit that more. Of course, Gittens definitely suits that. But like I said, I'm sort of like discounting Gittens because Gittens is a no matter what for me. It's Gittens plus one of these three. So let's say Eze, as much as I like him, and if you can't get these two, it's an option because it brings qualities that I like. Let's maybe take him away. So we're left with these two because they fit the structure a little bit more. They receive more progressive passes between the lines. They're a little bit more athletically gifted, sort of running in behind and being that outlet. And their shooting splits were better. Rogers, I didn't tell you his ones. 37.5% of his shots were on target. He only takes 1.75 per game, so the volume is actually a lot lower than I'd like it to be. But it's not the end of the world. It's not like Rogers is like a Sancho in the sense that he doesn't look to pull the trigger. So that doesn't worry me as badly. Kudus, like I say, if Kudus was a right footer, he would genuinely be perfect for this role because when he was at Ajax, his shooting splits were much better. Now, this season, he actually had 27.6% shots on target. So that actually was lower than Eze's. But his role at West Ham very much sort of plays into how his shots sort of come off. Because when he's sort of playing on the break for West Ham and he's sort of left as that lone isolated point up front, and again, the strike position has been really awkward for West Ham this year. He's not had a lot with him. He sometimes rushes and he's quite erratic with his shot release, which then ends up skewing it. Whereas, again, it's been getting progressively worse, that shooting accuracy. So last season, it was 30.1. The season before at Ajax, it was 38.6. So now it's 27.6. In a more controlled system where he doesn't have to rush that shot as often, I think that spikes again back up to a reasonable point. So that's why I'm okay with that. And I think he's a good XG creator in that sense when he is sort of on it. I mean, even this season, 0.24 per game, which is more than Rogers and more than Gittens, but Gittens kind of overachieves his XG quite a lot. So any thoughts on that that I've just read out? Because I think that's quite a big thing because to sort of speak about. We'll speak about Rodrigo and Nico Williams in a minute. Let me quickly get through the rest of these. How's the Kudus still going? I don't know. Gittens for left wing, Kudus for right wing /10. I would as a 2, I like it. Now available in HD. What's that one? What's the available in HD? Not the stream, surely. Yes, for Gittens. When talking wingers, you mentioned Yildiz. Not sure if we're still in for him. I haven't actually put him here, but he was another one that was in this category with Eze and Kudus and Rogers. He's another one that I like. He's another one that I like. I just haven't seen enough of him links-wise. I've watched a lot of him. Links-wise, I've not seen really anything since a few months ago when there was some early sort of murmurings. You're not confident going into the new season with Sanchez. I think Maignan will get done. If I had to put bets on it, which I have no information on it, by the way, this is purely just speculation, like as a fan, I think he ends up Chelsea player. I do. People say Leao off the ball work rate's bad, which it is, but so was Sancho before he came to Chelsea. Yeah, it's all about it's definitely something that it's not fixed. I think with Shirky to City as well, right? I think it's a topic. I think certain managers can get that buy-in from players. Look at Enrique with some of his players. Like again, it's all about it's a mixture, isn't it? Like are the players hungry enough? Do they want to work for one another? That's sort of like the good thing about having a young and exciting group that play together as well, because you sort of lose those like even Palmer towards the back end of the season. And again, Palmer's always been like a half decent presser, but the work rate of Palmer, not even the pressing ability, towards the back end of the season, he was working really, really hard in these sort of areas to win the ball back. And it was actually really important, really, really important. To be honest, Enzo has been covering big space a lot this year. Yeah, it's not, when I say that, I didn't mean he doesn't cover big space. I mean, I think it affects, because when he's having to cover that big space, I think it affects the quality of his defensive actions rather than when he's a little bit more sort of stable, moving side to side. That's what I meant by that. I didn't mean that he didn't work. Opinions on Maignan. I like him. I think he's good. I don't think you should judge off of that game the other night for France. It's like I've sort of said this before. It's not even to do with really the shot stopping for me. With Maignan, I think firstly playing out from the back, he offers a big upgrade. I think really, really good, and like composure. But above anything, it's leadership and it's sort of veteran like level that gives the defense stability, and it just feels more like a spine with him between the sticks. And I think it will just help the players in front of him. Hato would be unreal in a back three. Cuckoo push further up. So in that sense, would you want Hato starting as the left centre back then? Because if you had Hato left centre back, Cucurella left back, Colwill right centre back, I just think aerially, I think we'd struggle there. Would you keep Felix as a left wing option regardless of Gittens? If it had worked out, I think again the profile would have been good, Gittens and a Felix. But Maresca clearly doesn't like Felix, and I just think it's time to move him on. But it's just clearly not worked. There was a point during halfway, like before he left in January, I actually thought things were sort of slightly ticking together, because he does offer that maverick sort of thing that I do want in this area, in certain games. But you can't deny it's just not worked. So Enzo's best season was clearly last season. I think he's becoming the best box crasher in Europe. He definitely, I wouldn't say he's an attacking midfielder. He's an all-round 8, is what you mean, I would say. Pardon me. But yeah, he has become brilliant at doing that this season. Osterman going to Saudi, yeah, he is. I did see that. TK gives me strong Havertz vibes. Not that Kai was bad at Chelsea, but maybe I'm just traumatized by German forwards at Chelsea. I'm assuming you mean from Germany because he's French. But we'll see. Like I say, if you haven't watched the video, I really do recommend watching the TK video because I am big on him. You take Kudus over Gittens. For me, it's Kudus and Gittens. Again, when I upload this Gittens video, I hope I can sort of change a lot of people's minds on him, because it seems like a lot of people are skeptical on Gittens. I'll say it again. I don't think he comes in and he's a surefire hit next season. I don't think he comes in and is the difference next season. But I want him over the line because I rate him extremely highly for what he could become in the next year or 18 months. So I will say that. Will Delap help unlock Neto? People say Neto's a winger who needs a 9 in the box. I think it will help, yes. I don't think it's Osterman level help, because I still think Delap has, like I said, I think the tendencies are there for Delap, but I still think it might take a year to like fully really grow into it and make sure that he's sort of progressing well on that front, but it will help, yeah. Aren't we buying any defenders this summer because we're lacking defenders? I think we'll definitely get one. Connor Holt. You don't have to say my last name, by the way. You can just say Connor. Nico Williams is perfect for us. Yes, I do agree, Luke. Let's refresh, because I said we'd refresh. What we at? 53. So we need to get, we said 65 or something, didn't we? So we need to smash that up. We've got 70 people watching. So there's at least a minimum of 17 people that haven't liked the video. It takes 2 seconds, guys. 2 seconds, and it does me the world of good. Really, really does. 54, Andrei Shevchenko. Let's go, my guy. I saw that at the bottom there whilst I'm reading through. Thank you very much for everybody that has liked and subscribed and commented and everything, by the way, guys, because it really does help. Would you rather Rodrigo or Williams? Should we speak about them now, really quick? Right. Here's where I'm at with it. Both of them are on astronomical wages. We don't really have to speak about the wage thing, because if we're going to get one, then you're probably going to pay similar for either or. Rodrigo, I think, is the safest option in terms of. I don't think people would like. I think everybody would love it, so I think it'd be great for PR in terms for the club. I think he's obviously a brilliant player. Do I have reservations that he could be like out of this world for Chelsea? Slightly, but I still think either way it'd be a good signing. So don't get me wrong on that. Like either way, I think he's. I would take him in a heartbeat. Nico, on the other hand, I think is literally perfect for the system. A bit like Gittens in that sense. Like he is so suited to be in that like isolated left winger. But I just don't know. Again, with Nico Williams, I want to see a little bit more in terms of end product, because I think again he's like Madueke is very good at getting to the end, and then the end product falters a bit. And I love Madueke. I think I just need a little bit more from Nico Williams on the end product front, in the same way that this season I want a lot more from Madueke on the end product front. So, long answer is that. Short answer is probably Rodrigo. It is probably Rodrigo. What's your answer, Seb? I'd like to see your answer. Which player is most comparable with Rodgers? And I'm not sure on his profile. When I was doing data work a few months ago now, probably, he was coming into the similar camps of like a Cunha or a is another good example. The thing is someone like Doué is somewhere that I've seen a little bit online, is somewhat similar in the sense that Doué, he's looking more like a touchline winger now, but he came through and he was playing even as an 8 at times. Even this season under Enrique, he's played as an 8 at times. So I don't hate the Doué comparison either. He's maybe not got as much sharpness in terms of spring and agility, like in terms of center of gravity, as a Doué, which, because again, his build is different. But positionally, I hear it. He's a tough one to profile because he's got qualities of like a few different profiles. He's a bit of a strange one in that sense. Yeah. How would you fit Lavia into this team, though? Hot take, but I think he's our most talented midfielder when fit. He's definitely a game changer when he's fit, like you say. And I keep saying this with the midfielders. I wouldn't worry about them yet. I think once we see it, we can protect Lavia more. We can give Casado rest. We can give Enzo rest, and we can use him in games that suit him more often, and maybe rest him in the games that don't suit him as much to have a bit more physicality in midfield, because you've now got Andre Santos, you've got Sugo coming from the bench. I think all the midfielders are going to get really, really good minutes this season, providing they all stay fit, and like providing Lavia's fit, his minutes will still be good, is what I mean. So I wouldn't worry too much. I think the rotation will be strong between all of them. And like we've seen, Casado can play as that inverted right back. We can play as a 3-man midfield if we wanted to, with Palmer out wide. There's options. You got a good feeling about the lap. We'll do well with Chelsea with Cole Palmer. Yep, for sure. How many goals are you predicting Delap's first season? Depends if he's the starter for me, because if Ekitike is the starter, then I would maybe say 15 all comps. If Delap is the starter, I don't know. I feel like saying 20 all comps is like it's somewhat fair, but it's also somewhat like it's his first season, so I wouldn't be annoyed if he didn't do that. Like it's a tough one. I'll say 15. I'll say 15 goals all comps, because I'm guessing that we're gonna get Ekitike, and even if we don't, I still think Jackson will play a big part, vice versa. So yeah, Ekitike is a left wing option. He can do it, but it's just not my choice. I'd prefer him through the middle. because again, I think you'd need the overlap with Ekatike out wide. Whereas with these sort of like Rodgers and Kudus, like the idea is that you have like you don't have a fixed overlapper. You just have rotations within the coaching details. So like, can he do it? Yes. Would I do it? Probably not not very often. But as I said, I'll keep sort of plugging it because it is my latest video. As soon as this stream ends, go and watch the Ekatike video if you haven't already. Let me know in the chat really quick because we're nearly at the end of all these. No, we're not. How many have we got? Let me know in the chat if you've seen that video yet. Just put yes or no if you've watched the Ekatike video yet. Because if you haven't, really, really do recommend it. I think you'll come away from it feeling better about that idea. How do you rate Gittens' movement as Pythag? I'm assuming that's Pythagoras in boots. Was very critical of it in his Gittens video. How do you mean? Do you mean off-ball movement, or his ability to sort of shift on the ball? Off-ball movement could do with work. I think he sometimes arrives in the box quite well, but I just don't think it's as often as it needs to be. In terms of running in behind, I think he can get stuck on the periphery a little bit of games. In terms of a bit like Mudryk, in terms of like he can go quiet for a bit on the flanks, and he sort of builds his way into games the more sort of touches and carries that he gets. So I don't know if that answers the question in terms of like if he can sort of how long he sort of like stays out of games in terms of movement. But in terms of shifting the ball, he's brilliant, like really, really good. Oh, sorry, I didn't see this one. Wonder how busy we actually are with the rumours completely drying up. I think something big's going to happen. I really do. I think the quiet is telling. You're not afraid that someone like Diamonde would block a Chempong's pathway? Personally, I want Josh to be the right centre back next to Cole for the future. I want Josh to play big minutes. I want his minutes to go through the roof. But I think if Diamonde is available at a good price, I think he's perfect to have as that sort of Fofana profile, whilst Josh still sort of comes through, and then eventually, like, it would probably mean Fofana ends up being sold eventually if unless sporadically, which I would love to happen because I'm huge on Wesley Fofana, but if he miraculously recovered fully and he had a full season playing next to Colwell, then that would be our starting pair. And at that point, you may have an issue with Diamonde, right? And like the Josh thing, like you say. But that's sort of my thoughts on it. I think Diamonde is a ridiculous talent. I really do. Like, I hear it with the Bozo gene, which is what a lot of people have worries about because he does have mistakes in him, but he's just one of those players that just, for me, it feels like the explosion is inevitable because his defensive mechanics are just so good, like ridiculously clear. Kudus should be the starting red. Oh, HD setup with a webcam. When I was showing the webcam, I got ya, Val. Yes, quality should be much better. Kudus should be the starting right wing. That was replying to somebody else. What about Liao? We spoke about Liao at the start, Tony. So if you mainly the out of position worries for me, but you can go back and watch that bit if you want when this comes out as a video instead. Don't see Nico Williams coming to Chelsea. I think the wages are too much. I don't think it will happen. Would you say Reece? Would you see Reece right centre back or him pushing into those half spaces? Fully depends on his fitness. For me, I think he can do literally everything. Do you think Marashka will change formation? No, I think he'll add a lot more coaching details to what we've set up as the platform now. Do you think Felix does want to be on the bench? You think Felix does want to be on the bench, Kalis? Which video did he mention? Which video did who mention? That's 10 minutes ago, so I'm assuming you're not talking about the Ekatike one. A lot of people seem to want the two left-footed centre-back thing. What do you think? I personally hate the thought of it. These left-footers typically rarely look comfortable on the right side. It depends. So, like, I spoke about this on the last stream. It depends how left-footed they are for me, because you get a lot of left-footers. So, like Branthwaite, he's a left-footer by trade, but he's so both-footed that it's ridiculous. At that point, I think it's fine because it gives you, if anything, it gives you more flexibility because you can switch Colwell and Branthwaite left centre back, right centre back. They can play either side out of possession to accommodate Colwell being the central centre back on the ball. So in Branthwaite's case, I think it makes sense. in other situations, I agree, because like Badia's Shield, there was a few times last season where he played as that right centre back, and he was getting massively pinned out here. Like he was really stunting our progression. We was unable to progress the ball because he was just getting pinned against the sideline way too easily. What is Chelsea going to do about Petrovic? If we sign Magnan, he'll be sold. So that was him saying 54. Take Rodgers over Kudus, mainly because he's right-footed. Yeah, here it comes. That's what I said as well. I agree. Hato left centre back, Colwell central centre back, James right centre back in games where aerial threat is needed. Start tossing central centre back. Yeah, like I said, the quality on the ball there is ridiculously good, but I just think even in games that you don't think aerial threat is needed, it still gives them a way in. Like I'm trying to think of an example where like the aerial threat isn't so obvious. So like an Everton or like a Brentford, like from set pieces, or even Forest when like to deal with Chris Wood, like where you make that change purely because you know who you're going to be up against. But there's also like there's deceptive games. So like I can't even think of one off the top of my head. Like Tottenham, for example. Solanke is deceptively like he is good in the air, so like that would be Colwell's to deal with. But if he then starts peeling and trying to play off Hato and Kukurea, then you have an issue. So I think there's deceptive points about that. If you've got Hato, do you think down the line we sell Cuckoo? I mean, Cuckoo's 26, so down the line, yeah. Down the line, sure. But it wouldn't be anything imminent because Kukurea is so important. Is there any information on how much BVB want for Gittens? It keeps sort of going back and forth, doesn't it? Like I keep seeing 60 million euros, but then I see sort of like 30 to 35 million pounds. I reckon maybe it would be like 35 million pounds with a few sort of add-ons, maybe a 40 million deal, like package. Let's see. Let's see. But yeah, there's a lot of different things. Nico Williams just needs the right platform. He does, yeah. Lavia, please stay fit. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Shout out to all the people that like. Need a bit more likes from the thieves. Let's go, Kalius. You're always in the chat. Trying to big up the likes, which really do appreciate that, my guy. I think Delac will get 15 goals if he stays fit. Yeah, I like that. I think if we get Rodrigo, we'd have to also get Gittens as a touchline winger. Yeah, I hear that. I'd quite like. I'd still like I say I want Gittens either way because I just think he can explode. A lot of people saying yes to seeing the TK video, so appreciate that. Who's that unknown striker that is undergoing medical at Chelsea today? What does that mean? Have I missed something? Have I missed something, guys? What's Caleb, or is he trolling? What do you think about Enzo as a deep line playmaker? I think that's his best position. I love him in there. Yes, he's brilliant at crashing the box. He's been really effective this season in that sense, but I just think his progression is just unreal. I think the fact that you've got so many good ball players like Colwell, Casado's good on the ball as well. I think it sort of allows Maresca to be a bit more creative with how he uses Enzo. So, I mean, it's working. I'm not going to be too annoyed, but I like him as a deep line playmaker for sure. Lots of games coming next season. How are we going to manage Reece James? Again, you've got Joshua Chempong and you've got Gusto, who a lot of people turning on, but I like Gusto. I've said it a lot. I think his action-based performance this season has been poor. I think his passing, his crossing, I think a lot of his actual qualities have been quite poor this year in terms of how he sort of sees the game, his ability to, his tenacity, his mobility. I really like Gusto. So for me, if James is out, Gusto comes in, and a Chempong, I don't mind those at all. Read that Palace is trying to buy Diamonde for 45 million. That'd be really good. Yeah, for sure, you can cover both, Seb. That 45 million to Palace. If they get Diamonde and they have Diamonde and Lacroix, that defense is very good. I mean, it already is. Do you worry about the league Diamonde plays? Worries me when it comes to players coming from there. No and yes. Like, I mean, no in terms of Diamonde. Yes, in terms of it plays into my mind when I sort of scout players from other leagues. But like it all depends. Like you've sort of got to watch. Like I said, the projecting thing's so big, and that part can even come down to like personal sort of opinion on what you've seen. Like somebody that a lot of people rate, but I personally am not big on, is Antonio Silva from Benfica. I don't think he'd translate very well across to a different league, like to a Prem, for example. Again, that's just something I've personally that's something I've personally come to the conclusion of, and I prefer Diamond. Then there's a few other Portuguese defenders that I prefer over him, over Silva. So yeah, but it's something to take into account for sure. It's not something you should just discard. Keep Chalobah as a squad player. I 100% would, 100%. Who would keep out of Noni or Neto if we could get Kudus left wing and Gittens? This is so tough, right? Because I prefer Noni. I think he's better for the system. I think he's really underrated, and I think he's actually overhated, right? But if you're bringing in Gittens and Kudus, then unfortunately, I think Neto's the one to keep because I think he offers something different. Whereas I think Kudus, Gittens, and Noni offered similar things. So this is where sort of you got to be objective. I prefer Noni, but I would keep Neto in that sense, if that makes sense. In the end, I think we get Gittens and Rodgers, and I'd be so happy with that. If we get Rodgers, he's going to be one that I like. I'm a huge Rodgers fan. Been a huge Rodgers fan since he was at Middlesbrough. Yeah, really like him. Really like Rodgers a lot. Yeah, like I said, the rest of this you don't really have to this is just about wing chat today, so don't worry about too much about who's on the pitch. Sanchez is just there for now. He's just we tried using two left footers with Cole and Badiashile, and it was all like I said, the pressing trigger was definite, 100%. You watched it, but Felix doesn't want to be on the bench. Is it Hugo? Watched what? Let me quickly scroll up to see what you said. I'm not sure what you mean. Watched what? Oh, or do you mean the Ekatike video? Sorry. Not confident going into the Champions League with Delap and Jackson next season. Yeah, I actually think we'll get Ekatike in. What do you think? Reece left back, Cole left centre back, Fofana right centre back, or Bisek, and Caicedo right back for big games next season. I just wouldn't drop Cucurella. I just think he's too important. And like you saying, feel like that's an elite rest defence. I'd argue, in fact, I think it is our best rest defence from our season. I think Cucurella, Caicedo, Lavia is our best rest defence. Now Reece is good in the rest defence, but he's again, you're trying to manage what the athletic sort of workload on him, and Cucurella is much more intense and sort of zippy with it. So I hear it. It's not something I would say I wouldn't do, but Cucurella is important for that, in my opinion. Really need a backup to Cucurella if he gets injured. Ishe, take Gittens as a squad player. Yeah, hear that. How do you see a back three of Neto as a left wing back? I think in a different system. If he went to United and played as a left wing back, I think he'd suit it very well. Yeah. Would you keep Trev, Josh, Sarr, Fana as right centre back and focus on the left centre back? I think Sarr's going to go on loan. So I think a left centre back, when I think about it, it does make sense. But I think they want a left centre back who's quite both footed if they're going to do that. The problem is it makes sense in terms of depth, but then you want a starter to go alongside Cole if Fofana's injured. So it's the centre back position is probably the hardest one to call. Gusto really doesn't suit the system. Yeah, like I say, I don't agree with that. I actually think he does. I completely understand that on the face value of what people have seen. I completely understand how people have come to that conclusion. I just think there's something much deeper with him. I can see I think he will adapt well. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't even be surprised if he leaves. So I'm not even saying he'll get the chance to really fully prove it. But in terms of his understanding of the role, I think it's actually really strong. And I think he offers the mobility and counter pressing in central areas that you want from a player in that role. And the carrying as well, I think, is a massive factor for Gusto, and he can carry the ball from these areas further forward. So yeah, if we don't get Mike Maignan, does it mean Petrovic will be number one? I would say so. Gittens Rodrigo is my hope at the minute. You're unconvinced by Rodgers. That's interesting, but Rodrigo and Gittens would be good. Do I think Ekatike is a viable winger option? I think he can do it, but I wouldn't say I'd want to do it. Why does this guy keep saying Connor Holden? Wait, this isn't. No, I'm not sure. I was gonna say, is this Con from Twitter because he's did that once before? called me by the full name. I didn't know if that's where it'd come from. Madueke's output is really low. No 2, but at least he gets clutch GA. The big goal against Fulham, wasn't it? Obviously, but Madueke, I just think I think he's close to exploding. Where are we? Added Lavia to it because he's press resistant. Yeah, for sure. Wait, no, Lavia. No, I agree with Lavia being part of the rest defense. If that's what you meant. Definitely not Bersek. He's average. Worse than Betty Shield. Definitely not player I would trust about 4. Who would you take as a backup left back for Kukure next season? I mean, I'd give Ishe. I'd bump Ishe's minutes. But Hato is also a good option as well for that. Who do you think would be better for low block situations, Ekatike or Delap? Low block, Delap. But I think this is why I think Ekatike is smart, because whilst I think currently Ekatike is slightly better with like more space, and Delap will maybe adapt a bit quicker and use like the qualities that he's already got now against low blocks. I also think Ekatike can scale up against low blocks, and then in that situation, you then have 2 players that can do it against low blocks as well, because he's got the frame. It's a bit like Isaac in that sense. Like, he's got the ability to sort of make, again, watch the video if you haven't seen it. He can create high XG chances from low XG situations. So in that sense, he can still work against low blocks. So like eventually that can scale up. Amugu and Pies will go to Strasbourg and probably one of Jorgensen or Penders. Yeah, I do think Sar's going to go back there. Yeah, I do. And Pies, I'd love to go there as well. Like, I think that would be a great loan for him. I think there's a thing we just get Hato, so both Ishe and Hato can get minutes. Yeah, I wouldn't be against it. How many signings do you think we will make before the Club World Cups? We've already got the lap. I think we'll make one more, if I had to guess, because I think something big's coming. I think I would be shocked if we don't get something today or tomorrow, like just with how quiet it's been. Is Palmer going to win the number 10 in the Club World Cup? Yes, because it got announced, so yeah. Passing in central zones isn't good enough. He's targeted and doesn't know what to do building up in those areas. He's much more comfortable wide overlapping. He's more comfortable, but like I say, his passing action-wise hasn't been great, but the choices of passing has been fine in terms of knowing what to do. So like you say, he doesn't know what to do in build-up. I actually think he does, but the execution's not been as good as it needs to be. And he's very good at carrying through those central areas as well. In terms of comfortability, sure, because he's done that more often wide, but he can. I knew it. Is your second name Luke then? I've lost where I was now because I saw that pop up and I just had to go down to it. Where do you want to see Enzo, Fernandez, and Santos next season? Best position. Enzo, like I said earlier, in this role, but then having the ability to sort of rotate out with these 3, so he can get into here. I'd keep that as his role, because I think with the coaching details that will be added, I think it will help. For Santos, I think literally, like I said, either of these 2. I think I want to see at some point, I'd quite like to see at some point the Casado, Santos, Enzo midfield in a similar way that we do with Lavia, but with Casado inverting from right back, so that you can have Santos in there with him. I'd like to see them in a double pivot. I think that would be strong. If we sign Rodgers, he's more of an inside forward than a touchline winger. Yes, but we spoke about that quite a bit in this video. So just rewind when this finishes. Go and watch that. One more is poor. I feel we need Gittens and Mike. Yeah, like I say, we could get more. We could get way more. If we get a Ekatike, I would sell Jackson. Yes, and I like Jackson, but I just think purely, I think that Ekatike is just Jackson with better fundamentals already. So I think you're just getting a more ahead version and a higher ceiling version of Jackson. Our middle name. Starting to get the feeling we won't get Ekatike because every window we miss out on someone. Yeah, I mean, could what happen. The fee is high. The fee is very high. So it's one of those ones where I want Ekatike and I'm very high on him, but I also wouldn't be like absolutely like shocked or even annoyed if we walked away at the price it's at, because it's an astronomical price. So yeah. Hope you're wrong though, because you love Ekatike and want them in January. Yeah, Jorgensen number 2, my name number 1. Yep, hear that. Penders goes on loan, I'd say, with that. Don't see us going for another striker unless Club World Cup goes badly. We need a marquee winger, Williams, more Rodrigo, maybe Gittens. Yeah, I think those 3 are very sort of popular. Could you make the argument that Ekatike's ability to dribble in tight spaces makes him better for low blocks? A bit like I said, like, yes, in the sense that he can be, but I think if you've got other players around him, you need the box threat. So, like, you don't really want him being able to do that. I hear what you're saying for sure, because it is a factor. But I think you need somebody against those low blocks. Someone like the lap will be very important because he will fight for every ball. And then that will just open up space for Palmer and Enzo or whoever's playing in those positions. But there's also a case to be made that against low blocks late in games, and that could be another reason, that you have Ekatike and Delap together. If you're struggling for a goal 70 minutes in against a team that will not come out, 0-0, low block, whatever, then there's definitely a case to be made that the 2 of them, with Ekatike playing like just off of Delap, then there's a case to be made for that. But like I said, that's not how I'd start games. Gusto was Maresca's weapon against Liverpool, Arsenal, Man U earlier. And he didn't deliver ammo compared to Kukre in that role. No, he didn't deliver, and that's what I mean. I'm not pretending that he's had a good season. Controlling on his burner. I'm not pretending he had a good season in terms of execution. I'm just saying I believe in Gusto. I know I've worked on him a lot before we started this season on how I thought he was going to translate into the role, and what I've seen from him so far this season in terms of understanding of the role and the qualities that I think that he possesses. I don't think it's as bad as people are making out long term. But I completely subscribe to the fact that subscribe by the way. Subscribe to the fact that he hasn't had the best season. Because he hasn't, of course he hasn't. Let's quickly refresh now that I've said subscribe. We're on 70 likes, let's go. People are running it up now. Let's go. We're probably only going to go for another 5 minutes. We're just going to try and get to the rest of these chats. So once we sort of get through these, we will end the stream. Because we have been going for over an hour. Wow. But it's been a good stream. It's been a very good stream. Let's try and get through the rest of these really quickly. Ideal central progressor in the market. If we purchase one, does Enzo drop out? I wouldn't go for another one because I think we've already got Enzo, and then we've got Cole and Casado, who I rate highly in that regard as well. Like obviously in different areas. If we had to purchase one, I love Angelo Stiller. He's one that I'm huge on. So I'd probably say him if I had to, but I wouldn't sell Enzo. Do you think Enzo's a Tony Cruz type of player? I do. That's what I've always said, for sure. That would be like how I profiled him, if it was up to me. I do like Kukre inverting 2. His counter pressing and runs are very good. Hopefully we can alternate James Kuku to make it less predictable. Yeah, for sure. And again, I think that's something that like not enough people sort of speak about, is like in the long term, you want alternatives. You want to be able to invert both sides. Like you want to be able to change things like that and change your wing pairings and change whether you have an outside winger or like a pocket player who comes in from the wing. Different types of striker, like a more box crash centric number 8, or a more sort of defensive, progressive centric number 8, or a carrier, somebody who can carry the ball from these central areas into here. Oh, that's not an arrow. You want to be able to make those alternative changes because it just gives you more flexibility and it allows you to create more of a transformer tactically. But yeah, Kukre inverting his counter press is so important. Just pray they don't sell Madueke. Yeah, I think it would be really poor. Like, if he stays this season, he helps bridge to Esteval. You sell him next season. Because I think next season, I think no matter what, even if he doesn't explode, I think he's still going to have another progressive year. I think he'll still step on again. In which case, you still protect his value. So, I would not sell him this season. Unless literally the offer is, like, ridiculous. To be honest, this summer is a massive rebuild of attack. It isn't enough to get the PL title. Maybe not straight away, no. I think the only signing that I thought would have been was Osimhen. If you'd signed Osimhen and then maybe one or two like of these other sort of like pieces that we're talking about, then I'd be confident that we could challenge even next season. But no, pretty much every other option that we've spoke about, for me, is it's good enough long term, but it's not going to bridge the gap straight away next season. So it sort of depends what names that you're talking about. Mike has low cross claims, and it's very crucial in the league. Vicario is struggling because of that. He's actually better at claiming crosses than is like sort of given off. His stats for it aren't great, and like yes, Sanchez and players like that, they visually they look like they're more commanding. But it's actually not as bad as it's not as bad as Vicario, for example. Only joining so maybe discussed, but I still don't get the point of Ekatike with Jackson Delap. I've said this as well. I agree, because I think if Ekatike signs, you sell Jackson. I think the only reason they've briefed about Jackson and Delap being the strikers is purely to protect Jackson's value. I think he's gone. If Ekatike signs, I would be shocked if he stays. Would you agree Ekatike is very good at opening shooting angles for himself? Yes, purely because of his long legs, like long limbs. Like he's very good at sort of knocking the ball ahead really slightly of a defender, and it opens angles that other people don't. It's something that Bradley Barcola does really well as well because of that sort of like wiry leg frame. That's one thing that I like about sort of the wiry type players. I think they're very good at opening up those angles for passes and shots. Thoughts on Noosa? Really like him. Scored a really good goal last night, didn't he? But yeah, I really like him. Gusto going would help Josh get minutes. Yeah, like again, I don't hate if he gets sold. I don't hate it. I believe in him. Target for Chelsea next season. I want to challenge for the title and Champions League. I don't want celebration top four trophy. No, a celebration, of course not. We're not gonna, if we get top four next season, it's not a celebration. If we get a trophy, we'll celebrate. Like if we win an FA Cup, I'd be over the moon. Like I want to just start building that up again. And obviously break the Wembley curse would be huge as well. But yeah, I hear it. Oh. Hey Connor, do you think if we get a TK, we don't go for a ball carrier? So I'm assuming you mean like a Rodgers or Kudus. I think we still. I think it depends. I think if you sell, I think what we'd do is we'd sign a TK, and then the ball carrier would almost be so like that sort of like hybrid profile. We would not go for that until Jackson's sold. I think that maybe then what would happen is you'd sign Ekatike and Gittens as the two, or like as two forwards. I then think that towards the back end of the window, so we're talking August, then it would become something like if Jackson's sold, can we then can something opportunistic come of it? Can we perhaps tempt Villa with like a Jackson Rodgers thing? Like, and again, that's unlikely in August actually because of the PSR things for Villa, but that's sort of my point with it is that I think it would be an August type dealing. Hey Connor, Mike Maignan was bad in UEFA Nations League semi-final. Yeah, don't judge on that. Don't judge on that. He's better than that. One of the goals was poor. The Yamal one where he probably should have got a stronger sort of like flappy wrist on it. He should have put a stronger save in than that. But the rest of it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. Like it's not a good performance. You concede 5. It's one of those just get up, brush it off. Headspace is probably not there either. If not Maignan, keep Petrovic as number 1. I know Gusto's a baller, but Gusto overlapping yesterday looked like Poch Gusto. I mean, he literally made one overlapping run and put the cross in. Like, I get it. It's something that kind of annoys me to talk about because it's something that I sort of preached a long time. I understand where you're coming from. I do, but respectfully, I disagree with like the whole Gusto discourse. Hope we get priced down for a TK. Yeah, 100 mil is a lot. I don't think we would pay it. Would you swap Enzo for Rodrigo? No, I wouldn't. I would not get rid of Enzo. I think he's way too rare of a profile. And also, he's just like my favourite player, so I just would not get rid of him. Personally, don't see us signing Nico, but why aren't we going for Liao? Off ball. Kendry going on loan. What is that been confirmed? Is that been confirmed whilst we're streaming, or? Oh, sorry, I completely missed the message above it saying why we're not talking about Paez. Let's see how he does in the Club World Cup first. But I really want him to go online to Strasbourg. I think it would just be brilliant for his development. But let's see how he does in the Club World Cup. How long do you think it takes Esteval to make the right wing his? I think even halfway through next season, he could become. The minutes could be building up already. I just what I definitely don't want is him to be relied on from minute one to the point where if things go wrong after 3-4 weeks, even like the Brazil game the other night, where I didn't think he was even particularly bad. I just think like the team struggled. He wasn't like, he was a little bit on the periphery at times. If stuff like that happens, it will literally, it won't take long for certain people to start sort of talking about, is he a flop? Is he like, oh, maybe he's not as good as we thought he was? Is it Maresca's fault? Is Maresca stunting him? Is he using him wrong? I would protect that for the first 6 months of the season. And again, when I say that, I don't mean not use him, because he's too good to not use. Like, bring him on in games, start him in lower games. Like, just don't thrust all the pressure onto his back that it's like him and Palmer, they need to carry us. Like, don't do that. If not Manyan, who do we go for? Like I said, I'd keep Petrovic. What other tactic do I think Maresca uses? Like I said, I think it's just going to be more coaching details on top of the base that we've already built, if that's what you mean. Yeah, what my comment was regarding attack was meant we want to get close to the winner and aim for 75 to 80 points. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. In terms of, you mean like a big increase in terms of points, which, yeah, I agree. Do you think TK and Gittens can coexist? Yes, absolutely, they can coexist, like without a doubt. Hope we sell Jackson. You don't win world titles with fundamentals like this. I like Jackson a lot. But like, if we get TK, I'm more than happy to sell him. That's sort of where I'm at with it. But I do really, I want to just preface it because it's not something that like I'll celebrate. It's not like I dislike Jackson, want him gone. Like, I do rate him as a player, but I just think there's certain things that he doesn't have that TK does have and has even more scope to improve. So if you got to be ruthless in some situations, and I think that's one of them. Thoughts on why big teams didn't go for Shirky? I've literally got a TikTok that I've pre-recorded before I started streaming, which is going to go out later, and I'll probably upload it as a YouTube short. It's purely to do with, in this current day and age, in this new tactical landscape, look at PSG, for example. I think it's so important that every single player is willing to work, because if we look at the tactics board, right, if we're talking about PSG and you're talking about players rotating and we're saying this is Vitinha and he's dropping in and like Mendes is going into there. Again, this isn't exact because I'm just keeping everything on screen, but like if you're playing that system where everybody sort of switches positions, right? Let's just do a few switches, just random ones. That doesn't really work, does it? Like, literally just like completely modelled up, right? The idea is that in today's day and age, and the reason that it works so well with PSG is they can make those rotations because no matter who is in any position on the pitch, they're going to work their socks off to win that ball back. So if this is Doué, and he's swapped with, and he's gone, well, actually, like if that's Doué or this is like Dembele's in here or Dembele's ended up here, or even like Vitinha's end up here, doesn't matter who's in what role, they will work for each other. They will run and they will win that ball back. Whereas when you've got someone like Mbappe last season at PSG, you've got Leao is somebody that people get tagged with. Shirky's another one that's been tagged with a similar sort of thing. If they're not going to work, you lose a little bit of the ability to make those rotations because, say, Shirky rotates from, I don't know, left wing to in here and he drops deep, and then that means that this guy pushes forward and Shirky's sort of in this little like position here trying to dictate from the middle of the pitch. If he then loses that ball and he doesn't work hard to win it back, all of a sudden, that's split. And he's not going to work if this is Shirky. He's not going to work to win that ball back, so it's going to hurt the team. That's sort of where it comes into play. But having said that, I do think he'll work in the Prem on the ball. He's way too talented not to. And can Pep do something clever to either one, get him on side and make it that he works hard in certain situations, or can he tweak it that you can really protect him in terms of work rate? That's something that's going to be interesting because I don't think he works in the front two press with Haaland. I think you need somebody a little bit more aggressive in there. So it's going to be interesting to see how Pep sort of fixes it out of possession. I'm looking forward to analysing City next year. Really am. Hope they don't win as much because I'd prefer Chelsea to finish above them, but I'm looking forward to watching them. What players would you build upon for the future? Colwell, Reese. Like if we're talking spine now, because like again, Achimpong, Ishe, like players that I love. Enzo, Casado. It's tough because the whole midfield, like I just wouldn't get rid of any of it. And then Ekitike, Esteval. It's tough because like when you're saying a spine, like really, I love a lot of this spine as it is. It's just the certain few positions that I wanted upgrading, and I think if we upgrade that, then I think we're in a really good spot. Again, like goalkeeper's a big one that we need to sort of move on. We need to start selling players. We do. Did you notice Arsenal when they attack don't play against low blocks? Both Saka and Martinelli are inside forwards, but when they are playing low blocks, they're touchline wingers. Again, they've under Arteta, they've sort of added a little bit more rotation into their teams this year. So like with Timber and Miles Lewis-Skelly, you have fullbacks who can offer that, who can play in all different zones. So Timber's sort of been offering that to Saka where he can sort of pull inside a little bit. But it's definitely the way that things are going. It's just having time to implement those coaching details. Does Howard Bellis suit us? Yes. Would I go for him? No. It's funny because I think it was a day before that news came out. I was saying to quite a few people, because I was doing some like data work, Howard Bellis, I think he's a mid-table Premier League defender. I think he deserves a move, quite a decent move, but it's just not Chelsea because I think that Colwell's too similar to him. I wouldn't want them as a pairing. So I wouldn't go for him. But like, let's get things straight. He's a good player. He is a good player. Worried about Esteval. I think he'll sharpen up a lot quicker than people realise. Is Rodrigo up for the EPL to fight every game? I think he'd be up for it in the sense that I think if he leaves Madrid, I think he'll leave with something to prove. So I think that's almost a buy point for him. I think something that would get me even more excited for him is the fact that he would join and be really eager to sort of prove people wrong. I've just realised like we've been going for an extra like 25 minutes since I said 5 minutes left. And we've still only gained 3 likes since then. Can we get that to at least 80? Can we get that to at least 80 and we'll leave this for we'll go to 1 hour 30. It's got 5 minutes, so I need to really quickly get through these last few chats. But if you haven't liked the video, firstly, what are you doing? But secondly, let's get it to 80 for an hour and a half long stream on a Saturday. I think that's a deserved like target, in my opinion. Maresca made lazy players like Sancho work off the ball. Couldn't he have made Shirky do the same? Of course, there's the option for it. Like Enrique's done really well. Like certain managers do have a way with certain players and making it work, and especially when they're younger, they're a little bit easier to sort of get on side. So it could have, but it's the unknown, and that's the risk that maybe they didn't want to take with the attitude problems. Kvara had a prime example of that. Yeah, so like talking about like the work rate for sure. Give Shirky freedom and he cooks. 100%, yeah. Is it me or why is Chelsea not prioritising centre back? I'd love Diamonde. Let's see what happens, but I love him. Shirky for me is a player you built the team around. Yeah, I hear it. I do hear it. How good is Ishe? Ishe is very, very good. He's Josh level in my opinion. I think they're both very similar level and ceiling. And if people like Josh, I think you'll like Ishe. So both very, very good. They're literally perfect modern day hybrid defenders. They can play as the wide centre backs. They could play as the central centre back if you really needed them to on the ball. They can defend in wide areas. They can play as actual fullbacks. Both can they're both versatile. They're both brilliant build, like strong defensive, recovery pace, everything. They're just perfect modern day defenders. 3-2-4-1. I'd want Kudus in that attacking mid with Palmer. So yeah, you'd want the double. You'd want the double pocket switch. Yeah, it's fair. There's definitely scope for it in certain areas. I feel like I've used the word scope a lot in today's video, and I feel like it's because I used it quite a bit in the scouting videos that I've been doing. So now it's stuck in my vocabulary for other things. It's I don't think it's worrying, Sean. I think it's actually good. I think the fact that we're not hearing anything means that we're going to get something big. Big. Also, how would Chelsea manage these 5 midfielders for 2 spots? quite easily, I think. I think Asugo. So put it this way: I think the four midfielders that will get a lot of minutes are Casado, Enzo, Lavia when he's fit, and Andre. I think those four rotate very nicely. I think Asugo will get much more like on the edge minutes, so like the cup games and like. But I think where he'll come in really handy is from the bench. I think bringing him on with 15 minutes to go, 20 minutes to go, as a proper battering ram midfielder is going to be so big for us next season because it's something that I actually. If imagine we didn't have to sell Gallagher, and again, I completely fine with the Gallagher sale because I like Gallagher as a like the fact that he's proper like Chelsea, but I see it like technically he's not quite at the level of the other players. But if you could have kept Gallagher as a bench player and he could have been exactly what I'm describing now for Asuga, where he comes on 25 minutes to go and he's just a bulldog, he can't deny that's a good thing. Underrated shout, we should get Szoboszlai. It's funny you just mentioned Gallagher because I just said that and I hadn't seen you put that. Liverpool are not going to let him go, but his intensity is huge. Yeah, too much of a maverick to pass up on. Yeah, I do. I agree. I really do like Shirky. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. What do you think of Keanu Dyer? For me, that kid is talented. I literally love Keanu Dyer. I think he's absolutely outstanding. If I had to make a prediction, I think it's going to get to a point where the pathway is so blocked that he doesn't see a way in, which is a massive shame because I think he's so good. Let's see though. Let's see if because apparently it came out during the season that Maresca is a big fan of him. So let's see if he can work some magic there and keep him around and see what we do. What do you think of Strand Larson? I mean, not now that we've signed Delap, but he was somebody that I had on my list with Delap at the start of last season for that sort of target man-esque role. So yeah, I like him. I think he is underrated. I agree. Has that Modric playing style for Keanu Dyer? Yeah, I hear it. Don't think my man happens. I have a feeling it will, if I had to guess. So we're 50 seconds away from an hour and a half stream, which is where we're going to end it. Let's quickly refresh. Have we got it up to 80? 81, let's go. Huge support from everyone today. I really do appreciate it for a sort of an uncharacteristic Saturday stream. So please, on your way out, if you haven't liked, do leave one. Go watch the Ekatike video if you haven't watched it already. Massively recommend it. Keep your eyes peeled for content coming out over the next few weeks. It's going to be, I'm working really hard to sort of get as much content out as possible alongside all the other work I'm doing because I think I don't stress it enough. Like, the more support we get on these videos, the more time I can put into them because at the minute, as good as things have been on the channel, like I have to do a lot of outsource work and like I do a lot of scouting and a lot of things for other people. You know, W Con hold, let's go Con. So the more support, the better, of course, and the more I can put in and the more effort I can put in for you guys, for the community. I can get loads of guests on. I've got so many. Again, thankfully for the community that I've built, not only here but on Twitter, but also in the actual footballing world, the amount of contacts I've now got, I can get so many people as guests on this stream. If we can keep the support going, I definitely could get some really good guests for us. So it would be brilliant. What's good, Money Mike? Really unfortunate, mate. You have just missed the entire stream because we are ending now, but it will be available and you'll have a 90-minute long stream to watch as a podcast or however you want to watch it, sort of listening along. So I appreciate you coming along, bro. Like, you're somebody I always see in the stream, so like, sorry you've missed the whole thing, but yeah, I hope you enjoy watching it back if that's what you plan to do. We're going to end it there. Subscribe, all that good stuff. Let's hope we get some good news about Chelsea in the next few hours of the weekend, etc., etc. I'll see you guys next time.